Hello, Kamui the Face Toucher here for more face touching Big Clingy here for a bit of an updates video. While I have posted some of this stuff on Tumblr, I have noticed that not as many people have been seeing those updates, so I thought I may as well post one right here on YouTube so most of you know what's going on. Though, I would appreciate if some of you check my Tumblr feed just to see more updates on... I'll post just general, brief video updates there from time to time. But, seeing as we're approaching the end of Fates, I thought it would be appropriate to discuss what's next, and what's coming up, and what I've been working on lately. So I'll just say, there isn't that much left to do with Fates, really. All I have left, as of making this video, is Witch's Trial, and then the Heirs of Fate maps. Not really much to update on those, I'll just do them when I get the chance to, really. It's actually quite easy to record 3DS footage, and being a blind run, I don't really need to worry about practice attempts, redoing footage. I just record my first run and I'm done with it. Really, in some ways, despite going on for so long, the blind run's actually been kind of relaxing to upload in a way, because there isn't that much pressure to be perfect in the videos, and I don't really need to do much retakes or anything like that. It's just you do one take and that's it. That's the one you use. You might be wondering why I'm suddenly realizing this now, and that's because I've started to record something else that I want to get back to, and yeah, in some ways I am kind of missing the blind run. This other project would be the Persona 3 FES Max Social Links run. A lot of you have been very eager to see this come back, and I don't blame you. I really enjoy playing this series, and it's a game that I really love. Not only that, but Persona 5 is coming out in Japan very soon, so now is pretty much the perfect time for me to be getting back to this. I've been really psyched to get back into recording this, and psyched to get back to a game that I actually am a lot more knowledgeable about, and am able to do practice attempts or research for. And that's what I've mostly been doing this past week. Given this is a Max Social Links run, and you have a very, very tight schedule with which to do that, major screw-ups can force you to redo enormous amounts of the game, and I really don't want to do that. So, I've had to research, because I've been away from this game for such a long time, I had to basically practice the next few weeks in advance, making extensive notes on what I needed to do. I think by now I'm pretty much back into the swing of things, and you're in for a treat. There are some pretty good events coming up the next few in-game weeks, so look forward to that. As a bit of a teaser, you'll be seeing for the first time the closest thing this game has to actual villains. Anyway, I've actually finally started the recording of this recently, and well, it's been a long time since I used my TV capture device, and I'm having to get reacquainted with the ins and outs of it. Remember how I said that recording 3DS footage is pretty easy? Basically, you just record the screen with fraps, and the videos are made instantly. No wait time at all, and even if somehow the computer crashes in the middle of a video, you still keep whatever footage was saved up until that point. It's really convenient. The downside is they take up an absolutely enormous amount of space on my hard drive. The way this TV capture device works is quite different though. Every video segment, after it finishes, I need to wait for it to save, and that is kind of an issue. This saving process often takes just as long as that video segment took, which basically means that I take double the time to record things. In fact, sometimes even more so to account for random crashes with my computer and having to reset things, check the footage to see that everything recorded properly, that there wasn't any desync, and, you know, the occasional failed attempt. To put things in perspective, today I recorded for 4 hours and got about 1.5 hours of actual concrete usable footage out of that. You know what really sucks though? Doing all that and then finding out that the very last video in that entire session failed to save. So I'm gonna have to take a break from recording until tomorrow because I was just too frustrated at that. The problem is that this is a Tartarus segment, and generally I don't like uploading Tartarus segments partially. I like to wait until I've recorded everything that I need to in that whole visit before I start uploading that. And now that I don't have enough footage for all of that, that's gonna be a bit of a problem. Not only that, but this Tartarus visit also involves giving bios to 2 new party members, so that's also going to take a while, and being a Tartarus segment, it is much more intensive on the editing than the normal social segments, because I have to go through and cut out battles where nothing interesting happens, and, you know, make sure everything's all streamlined and the like. There's also even more editing involved in this one, because I thought I'd make a bit of a thing about counting how many times a certain skill is used in these next few videos. Those of you who know who's about to join and who've played this game probably know what I'm talking about. For those who aren't, I'll let you savor that experience once you see it. Trust me, it'll be worth it. After that's done though, I should be able to record quite a bit of the next week, though I will be starting 2, possibly 3 new social links in this week alone, so it's going to be pretty bio-intensive, and as such, yeah, there'll also be a lot of editing and post-production commentary involved in that. So, long story short, P3 is coming. I'm working on it, I can assure you of that. It'll be ready when it's ready, so just be patient. Now that I've got a lot more back into the swing of using this editor, hopefully I should be able to record more easily. Rest assured though that I do enjoy these videos. I don't ever consider making videos to be a chore, no matter how long it takes. I just really want to make sure to take the time to make these the best that I can possibly make them. And because of that, yeah, just give me the time. There is another major announcement that I need to make regarding Persona 3. Now, back when I announced that I'd be doing the series, you might remember that I said that I'd planned to do the series in 2 parts, and that I'd be doing another game in between them, because I wanted to play these games in chronological order. Now, I can reveal what my original plans were, because they are going to be changing. Originally, I planned to play up till a certain point in Persona 3 where a midquel in the series occurs chronologically. I would then go into a playthrough of Persona Q Shadow of the Labyrinth for 3DS and play through this game in full before going back to Persona 3. That was my original plan. There were a few reasons for this, but I don't exactly want to discuss them here because they pertain to some pretty big plot spoilers. However, I made this plan long before I knew of Fire Emblem Fates' release date, and because of that, I did not realize just how big of a hiatus Persona 3 would end up going on. And after that big of a hiatus, there is no way I'm doing that to the series again. Because of this, I will do Persona 3 continuously from beginning to end. Don't worry, I do fully intend to play Persona Q eventually. Persona Q is probably one of my favorite 3DS games of all time, and I would love to cover it. The thing is, it's actually a very long game, much longer than you'd probably expect, and I would be going for 100% of the compendium there, so it would be even longer. I'd be going for all the bonus bosses and side quests. Yeah, I'm sorry, but after the main Persona 3 playthrough went on hold for so long already, I'm not doing that to it again. So, Persona Q is being put on hold, and Persona 3 will be done continuously. There are advantages of doing this. There were some spoilers alluded to in Persona Q that I would have had to have either censored or done some weird stuff to get around, but that I will not need to worry about, so at least that's an advantage. I will say though, to all new viewers who came to this channel in Fates, you might not have seen this series, and I just want to warn you that this game is rated M17+ in America. Normally I don't cover that kind of content on this channel. The only reason that I am is, the game does not have that higher rating where I live. In Australia it's only the equivalent of T. And while I do disagree with its American rating in a lot of ways, I will admit the game does contain some disturbing imagery, a lot of which happens during battle scenes and is very much unavoidable. So, if you're a younger viewer or are disturbed by that kind of thing, it's okay if you don't watch these videos. What else is there on the updates front? Well, There's a game coming out later this year that I very, very often get asked about. I've answered questions like this many times, so I thought I might as well say this response again in this video just to get it out there so that everyone knows. Pokemon Sun and Moon, do I have any plans for them, blind run or otherwise? I'm really sorry to say that I don't have plans to do a blind run of Sun and Moon currently. There are a few reasons for this. The main one is that I have already done a massive blind run this year already, and I kind of feel like that's enough. Fire Emblem Fates, I basically did 3 massive RPGs in one, all as a blind playthrough, and like I said, I feel like that's kind of enough for 1 year. That's not to say that I don't have any other blind run plans for this year. In fact, something may happen sooner than you think, but I am not going to be taking on another massive RPG blind. Not to mention Sun and Moon would delay Persona 3 even more. The other reason is that I probably like to experience these games on my own time this time. While the Pokemon X blind run was fun to do at the time, it did take away some of the things that I generally love to do whenever a new Pokemon game comes out, and that is, oddly enough, spoil myself on everything. That's actually something that I often really look forward to whenever a new Pokemon game comes out, to go to Cerebi, crack open the coverage, and just look at what is in this game. Now, seeing as Sun and Moon look like they're going to be a bit more plot-driven than other installments, I might be a bit less inclined to do that, but what I will definitely be doing is immediately looking at the new Pokemon list the moment that the game hits release. That's something that I've always done with every generation, and it's something that I really miss doing with Generation 6. I generally like to go into a new generation knowing all the new Pokemon in advance, because that way I can plan out my team in advance, which is what I always do every time I do a new playthrough. Also, you need to realize that the blind run of Pokemon X was essentially a complete fluke. I won a tournament where the prize happened to be a reserve copy of either X or Y, and I thought, you know, if I'm getting the game for free anyway, I might as well spend the money that I would have paid on the game buying a US version for my American recording 3DS and record a blind playthrough of it. My two 3DSs being different regions is the main thing here. That and the fact that I like to have a copy of the game for myself to take out on the go, and I need an Australian copy of the game to enter Australian tournaments. Seeing as there's absolutely no way that I'm ever taking my incredibly expensive recording 3DS out, I would like to have the portable copy of the game first, and that's the one that I'll be getting. This means that if I was to record the game, I'd have to buy both versions, and considering how much I've already spent on Fire Emblem Fates, and the fact that I generally don't like buying both versions of a Pokemon game, I've generally always been against the idea. I've thought the way it's meant to work is, you find a friend who has the other version, don't buy both versions yourself. So yeah, for all those reasons, I probably won't be doing a blind run of Pokemon Sun or Moon. However, I'm not discounting the thought of doing a playthrough of one of them at some point, but just maybe later, maybe a more experienced one, or maybe a different kind of challenge later down the line. No, that does not mean Nuzlocke or Wedlock, it means maybe another challenge of my own devising, or I already have a few ideas. Probably the next Pokemon-related thing that I intend to do is a no-experience playthrough of Pokemon Heart Gold. I did a no-experience run of Pokemon Black on this channel, and it was one of the most fun series that I've ever did. It didn't get very many views at all, but I personally feel like it's a very underrated challenge and a very fun experience. It involves getting a copy of Pokemon Black or White that doesn't have the anti-piracy measures removed, so that your Pokemon never gain experience in battle. Now, this challenge is doable for games other than the 5th generation, and I probably will do a no-experience run of Black 2 challenge mode at some point, but Heart Gold and Soul Silver are some of my favourite games from the series, and I'd love to play through them, but a standard playthrough is kind of boring, so I found a way that I can do those no-experience. It requires using GameShark codes, but I found an experience multiplying GameShark code, and I changed a few of the numbers around, and I've successfully made it so that my Pokemon don't gain experience in that game. I could make a tutorial video if you guys want to see how to do that, but yeah, I think it would be very, very interesting overall. A YouTube user by the name of MoogleBoss has already uploaded all the boss fights of a no experience challenge of Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I am intentionally not watching those though, because I want to make sure that I come up with strategies myself. I don't copy strategies off anyone else. Anyway, I make no promises as to when I'll do that, but I will definitely do that at some point. Speaking of future plans for the channel and challenges, I recently did something on my own time that I think might be an idea for a future video series. I had my 3DS with me on the plane flight and wanted something to do. I realized that I had the Ambassador program, having bought the 3DS the moment that it came out, so I had access to a lot of free Game Boy Advance games on there. And one of them I found that I'd already completed 100% normally, but I thought, you know what? I could try and do a challenge run of this. That game was Metroid Fusion, and the challenge was the exact opposite of 100%. Go through the game collecting the absolute bare minimum of items possible. This means that you get through the game with only your starting 99 units of energy, 15 missiles because there's one missile tank that you can't miss, and 10 power bombs. That's all you get for the whole game. Metroid Fusion is kind of interesting among the series because every major item and upgrade is literally forced on you by the plot. But does that make this challenge easy? Oh boy, no! Because the thing about Metroid Fusion is, it's absolutely full of bosses. The bosses have always been the highlight of the game to me, and there's some particularly brutal ones that become even more brutal under these challenges. Yeah, you remember those bosses like the giant spider that just goes around the room rapidly, or Nightmare, the ridiculous 4-phase, well, aptly named Nightmare, who, again, flies around the room very randomly towards the end? Now imagine those bosses when you can only take 2 to 3 hits, and only have 10 missiles. It's tough, but I found it very fun, and recently I actually managed to completely finish the game under these conditions. It was really, really satisfying. Sure, it was frustrating failing to all the bosses hundreds of times, but just very little beats the satisfaction of actually beating Yakuza, Nightmare, and Ridley under 1% conditions. It's pretty amazing. So now that I've proved that I am actually capable of doing this, I thought that it might be a fun idea for a video series someday. It'd definitely be quite short, in terms of raw video length, but it would be quite long in the fact that it would take me hundreds of attempts for each segment. I'm not sure whether I'd do live or post commentary, both have their advantages and disadvantages. In live commentary, I'd probably have to repeat the same things again and again and drive myself insane, because I'd be redoing each segment a lot. In post commentary, I'd be able to explain things more clearly, but I wouldn't get funny reactions for outtake reels whenever I die. So if you have any opinion on which you'd prefer, say so in the comments. I don't know when I'd get around to recording something like this. It'd probably be a side project or something that I do later on. Definitely not launching into it now. Main reason being, it's a pretty ugly time for the series and its fandom. And I really wouldn't want to stir the flames any further. I prefer to just stay as far away from what's happening there as possible. My honest opinion at the moment is, I really don't care about the future of the series at all. I just enjoy the previous games. I just want to keep playing these games that I love without any fandom drama getting in the way. Is that too much to ask? Speaking of other games in the series I enjoy, after beating Fusion 1%, I was hungry for more low% Metroid challenges, so I went ahead and bought Zero Mission off of the eShop and did one of that. It's actually a very, very different type of challenge though, because this time, a lot of the upgrades are not forced on you, and as such, you have to go through the game with no charge beam and a beam that barely has any range. Because of this, missiles are really your only form of offense because you don't have Fusion's ridiculously overpowered charge beam. And as a result, a lot of the battles in it become less about just insane skills and more about patience. Missiles are your only real form of damage, but you only have 5 of them. Thankfully, most bosses have some attack that you can destroy to get more missile drops, so it basically becomes fire missiles, spam shots to get more drops, fire more missiles, and just keep waiting. Many of the bosses aren't hard, just very, very time consuming. So, yeah. Not to mention that Metroid Zero Mission has far more plentiful save points than Fusion did. It's honestly a much easier challenge overall. At least, until Turian. I just started Turian in this challenge recently, and oh boy, the difficulty goes insane there. So, yeah, Turian is absolutely painful. Metroids kill you so quickly that getting grabbed by one is basically instant death, so it's insanely brutal. Run out of missiles, you're dead. Spawn too many Metroids on screen, you're dead. Can't keep track of how long the Metroid's frozen for, you're dead, and so on. It's insane, but actually pretty fun. And I haven't even got to Mother Brain yet, who I have a feeling is going to be terrifying on this difficulty, so yeah, wish me luck for that. Zero Mission is a very short game overall, so I'm still on the fence about a potential video series for this. After this, I might try and go back to the Prime games and do low percent runs of them, though for those ones, I'd need to look up which power-ups are required and which aren't. And to clarify, with these challenges, I generally don't allow sequence breaking. It's the bare minimum of items that will get you through the game as intended. A lot of items are technically skippable with sequence breaks, but if you can only skip them by means of a sequence break, I consider them required and so will collect them. The reason why so many items ended up being skippable in Zero Mission is that it actually has a lot of developer-intended shortcuts, specifically designed to get you into later areas without the power-ups that you need for them. So I don't technically consider that sequence breaking. That's pretty much it for this Updates and Random Thoughts video. So, you'll be seeing new videos soon. Look forward to them.